Hey, I wanted to make a video about the how the network is set up here at Westwood. It's going to be a pretty basic overview, but it'll at least give you some basic understanding um, as you go to reconfigure things. So it all starts off with our Comcast connection. That's where our internet comes from. It connects into the MX85 firewall, 85 or 84, but it's there. It's the new one. That 85 is where all the routing and VLANing and all that stuff is configured. Before I leave this area, though, I'll show you that we do also have a Cradlepoint 4G router system, which at one point was connected to our check-in AP. That's having a problem right now, so check-in does not have its own dedicated AP. Check-in is being run off of the APs that are all over the building, but eventually that'll need to get reconfigured and set back up where the check-in has its own AP that's connected to the Cradlepoint, which is connected to Comcast. So if Comcast goes down, the Cradlepoint takes over, and check-in can still happen over 4G LTE. So just so you're aware there. Okay, back to the 85. So the MX85 also is connected to an Aruba, I think a 24-port switch. This was installed by Pacific Automation or whoever it was the phone system is through. They installed that, and basically there is a separate VLAN for voice that's connected on there. And how it works is all the telephones that we have in the admin area run through this switch, and then the computers that are hardwired into those same ports in those offices plug into the phones. And the way the switch is set up and the way the firewall is set up is that if it's a computer, it goes on the admin VLAN for internet access. If it's a phone, the switch is set up to put it on the voice VLAN so that the traffic is separate voice and admin computer traffic. Okay, and that's what I'm showing here. Aruba connected into all the admin ports in the admin wing. All right, coming off the MX85 is connected with Ethernet to a MS220 8-port Meraki switch. This is a PoE switch, so we're using it to power a lot of our access points, our APs that are close by. So you'll see here, I just put just one little thing that shows APs. So there's 2 lobbies. There is a admin AP, and I think those are the 3 that are powered off of. Yeah, those are the 3 that are powered off this Meraki 8-port switch. This Meraki 8-port switch, as you go in, you'll see is also configured for a couple different things. Number 1 has a fiber output, which connects to the family center closet, and we'll get there. But it's also set up with 2 Ethernet connections, which are set up in an aggregate to produce our production network. And this is for the worship center and all the production stuff that's happening. This is also on its own separate VLAN. And how it works is there's 2 Ethernet lines that are aggregated together and run from that 8-port switch through the conduit into the production lighting nest. There's also a Netgear managed switch in that area. And then from there, it's another aggregate that runs from the production switch to the sound booth. And then from the sound booth, it goes up to the production for the projector room where the Pro 7 computer is and the projector for Sunday mornings. It's also an aggregate there. So I did the aggregate just to be able to handle all the bandwidth that we needed, because the plan was to use those same connections eventually for Dante. And I was going to switch those out for fiber at some point. Okay, so the production network basically exists in its own VLAN, and it's in its own area, and that was just designed because all the traffic that's happening, especially with live streaming on Sunday. But the production network includes our in-ear monitor system. It includes our internet access for all the production computers, including wireless devices. So there is an access point coming off of this switch, and I'll write that in here as well. So AP. Okay. All right, back to the MS220. So the production, I said, has 1, and then there's also a fiber that runs from the MS220 AP to the family center closet. That's a fiber run. From here, a couple things are happening. There's a couple APs, C-Wing, family center, lobby, are all connected there as access points. Then this family center closet has 1 jump into a patch panel that's an ER2. The connection here is important because our HVAC system HVAC brain, we'll call it, connects here. It's actually inside ER2, and it's set up on the the infrastructure VLAN, a connection that goes through ER2, goes back to the family center closet, goes back to the 220, back to the MX, and then goes right out to the internet. And there's actually port forwarding and everything set up so that way the HVAC system can be connected to remotely for maintenance and things like that. Okay. So that's the connection to ER2. There's also another connection. It's an Ethernet run that goes into the lower E-wing. And this is the room that they call the confessionals, I've heard. So the lower E-wing has a switch in there. There is an AP that is in the resource room in the lower E, and then in the Noah's Ark room, as it's called, there's an AP that's up there. And those connections actually go back to this lower E-wing. And then the lower E-wing actually feeds all the ports upstairs, or all the lower ports downstairs, Ethernet. This closet back here, the family center closet and the ER2 closet, upright closet here, feed the Ethernet ports upstairs. The other thing, the lower E-wing closet, there's an AP that's in the student center. So I put AP students, that's in the student center. So that's the overview of the network, and then I wrote down all the VLANs: infrastructure, admin, cornerstone, voice, production, Dante. The infrastructure is basically just what all the switches are on. So all the switches are connected on the infrastructure VLAN, and then the admin is your all your admin computers, and they have their own Wi-Fi. Cornerstone, and then Cornerstone staff, also staff. Are two separate VLANs, but those are handled through Meraki, and they're just actually Wi-Fi networks, not actual like hard run VLANs. Dante, once again, a VLAN, and voice I talked about on the Aruba. I think that's pretty much it. Hopefully that gives you just an overview. Obviously, if someone knows Meraki and networking, they should be able to figure this out, but that's kind of the overview and how everything is physically connected.